All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled Donald Trump, Mr. 9/11, Predictive Programming. Okay, so this particular video is going to be about none other than Mr. Donald J. Trump. Okay. And what we're going to go into is why, or really more evidence as to why I call him Mr. 9/11. Okay. A close friend of mine actually stumbled across a video on YouTube, and it's actually a commercial that Mr. Donald J. Trump did years ago. Okay. Long before his first presidency. Okay. And that particular commercial was predictive programming. It was already letting us know that Donald J. Trump was going to have two terms as far as being president goes. Okay, so we're actually going to get into that particular commercial because it's clear that Donald J. Trump was already selected, okay, or predetermined to be president a long time ago. Okay, and again, it's just going to go to show us that, you know, these presidencies, these presidential elections, so to speak, it's really just a circus. Okay. They do that to actually make the people think that their vote actually matters when it doesn't. Okay. This individual, Donald J. Trump, was already chosen. Okay. He was a chosen one. He was already chosen to actually play this particular role in this particular storyline, and which we're going to prove. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is let me give some background. Let me actually show why I call him Mr. 9/11. Okay. I'm actually going to show a post that I saw on Instagram. Okay. And it's actually from the Instagram account Susie Q's. Okay. Now, this particular lady, I saw this post and I'm like, she's really the only other person that I know that peeped the same thing that I did. Okay. About him being tied to the numbers 9/11. Okay. Because I had already coined him as that really at the beginning of this year. Right after, really not too long after he was elected the 47th president. Okay, I'd already said this. So then I stumbled across this post on Susie Q's Instagram account, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not crazy. It's good to see somebody else saw the same thing. So let me stop babbling. Let's actually go to that post. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. So as we already know, Donald J. Trump was the 45th and the 47th president of these United States of America, correct? Well, he was the 45th president. 4 + 5 = 9. Okay. And currently he's the 47th president. 4 + 7 = 11, aka Mr. 9/11. And we know what 9/11 stands for. Okay, that's code for what? Emergency. Okay, so again, what does that mean? It means Mr. Donald J. Trump is in some way, shape, or form going to be linked to some type of big emergency. And really in both presidencies. Okay. So again, that's why there's a reason why he had to lose to Joe Biden to become the 46th president. He had to lose to Joe Biden because he couldn't be the 46th president, because that would not have played into the narrative, into the storyline. Okay, he had to be Mr. 9/11, and in order to accomplish that, he had to be the 45th and the 47th president. Okay, that's why I just said earlier, okay, these presidential elections it's nothing more than a circus. Okay, it was already predetermined that Joe Biden was going to win the last one. Okay, they wasn't going to let Donald Trump win, because Donald Trump is playing a role in the storyline right now. Okay, but here again, we have to think about this, right? Now, what was the emergency that actually happened during his first presidential term? Allow us to go back in time. Let's go back to the year 2020. What jumped off? The C19 virus. Okay, Mr. 9/11. That was the emergency that happened during his first presidential term. Okay, so now one has to wonder what's really gonna pop off during his second presidency. Only time will tell. He was just elected not too long ago. Okay, so with all that being said, let's actually get into the particular commercial that I've been talking about, okay? That actually is really more evidence, the nail in the coffin, that solidifies why I call him Mr. 9/11, okay? In which this was predictive programming, letting us know that he was going to be the 45th and the 47th president. Okay, let's look at this commercial that he did many years ago. Okay, let's take a look.
So what do you think of my Trump home mattress collection by Serta? Finally, the same luxury and comfort.
So right off the jump, okay, let's pause the commercial right here. Okay, now a lot of times, and I've always said this in my videos, the cameramen that do these commercials and these photo shoots, they're in the know as well. They're within the craft as well many times. Okay. And a lot of times they'll frame the shot in a specific angle to convey a particular message, a particular subliminal message, so to speak. Okay. Look at how this is framed. Okay. Donald J. Trump is between two lamps. Okay, he's between two lamps, right? Now, this to me, and this is just my critique, I could be wrong, but this is symbolic of what? The twin pillars of Boaz and Joachim, right? Now, remember, I did the video series on the Netflix original film, Leave the World Behind. And this was a running theme in that particular movie. Oftentimes, they would film the characters in between two lights or two lamps. Okay, but notice that that's what's going on in this particular commercial. Okay, that represents those twin pillars, which also represents what? The number 11. Okay, even when you look in the background outside the window, you have two buildings that really look very similar to the Twin Towers, forming what? The number 11. Okay, and we know the number 11, it represents what? The number 11 represents duality, twinning, and it also represents what? Mind activation. It represents that pineal gland, mind activation. Okay, so with that, let's continue with the commercial.
Comfort I demand in my hotels.
Oh, they'll never count sheep again.
So what's going on here? Okay, notice Donald Trump just made a statement that his mattress collection from Serta actually provides the same comfort that he demands in his hotels, right? That's what those mattresses actually gives people, that same type of comfort, right? And then notice right after that, the sheep says what? He said, people will never count sheep again. Now, why is that? Because sheep are metaphorically tied to what? Sleep. So what is the subliminal message here that they're trying to convey? That and notice, before I even say that, notice this particular sheep has the number 1 on it. Okay, why? Because this sheep really is linked or connected to Donald Trump in this particular commercial. This particular sheep is letting us know that Donald Trump is a chosen one. Okay, and what is he chosen to do? He's the one that's going to cause people to be rocked to sleep. He's going to cause some type of distraction. Okay, he's going to rock people to sleep. Okay, that's why this commercial is really so deep. That's the subliminal message that's going on here. Okay, he's a chosen one, and he's chosen to do a particular job on the left-hand side, to actually keep people asleep or to help put people further asleep. Okay, that's why sheep had to be a focal point in this particular commercial. Okay, but this particular sheep right here that has the number 1 is pretty much tethered to Donald Trump in this particular commercial. Why? Because Donald Trump is a chosen one. He's chosen for a particular purpose. Okay, so with that, let's continue.
Listen, why don't you come work for me?
What do you have in mind?
Something you were born to do.
Welcome to Room 9.
Now, would you look at that? So him and the sheep that's number 1 are walking down the hallway. And notice again, that sheep that's number 1 is steady by the side of Donald Trump. Okay, because that sheep is tethered to him. That sheep represents Donald Trump. Believe it or not, that's why that sheep has the number 1 on it. Donald Trump is a chosen one. Okay, but as they go down the hallway, again, this is why I say these camera angles are so important, right? Notice the other 2 sheep that's shown on the screen. What numbers are on those sheep? It's 9 and 11. Uh-huh. Now, am I reaching? Am I? Okay, I told y'all gonna learn that I don't just say stuff just so stuff will come out the side of my neck. Okay, there's credence to statements that I make. Okay, Donald Trump is Mr. 9/11, and this commercial was predictive programming. Okay, this commercial was done long before he became president the first time. But this was letting us know that he was going to become the 45th and the 47th president. Again, 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 plus 7 is 11. He's Mr. 9/11, and he's going to be linked to what? Emergency. That's why something catastrophic happened during his first presidency. Again, the C-19. Okay? But this right here, this was a home run. Okay? Listen, this is a checkmate. I could really end the video right here, but no, we're going to keep going because there's more. Okay, let's continue.
Looking good, number 9, looking good.
Now, notice in this particular scene, when they were going down the hallway, it was they showed the sheep number 9 and the sheep number 11. Okay, 9/11. But the sheep number 9 is the one that spoke, and he said, "Welcome to room 9." Correct? And then Donald Trump turns around and says, "Looking good, number 9, looking good." Why is emphasis being placed on the number 9 so hard in this particular commercial? Okay. That's because the number 9 is significant on the left-hand side. The number 9 represents the end of cycles, the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new. Okay. That's what it represents. Life and death. It also represents the end of cycles. Okay. That's why emphasis is being placed on the number 9 here. Okay, let's actually put the commercial on pause for a minute and let's prove that point. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, so here is some information on the number 9, and it reads, it says in numerology and spiritual interpretations, the number 9 often signifies completion, fulfillment, and a new beginning. Check that out. It says indicating a transition into a new phase or cycle. See that? I told you. So it says it's associated with compassion, wisdom, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world. It says the number 9 is also seen as the symbol of the end of a cycle. Allow me to repeat that part. The number 9 is also seen as a symbol of the end of a cycle. Right? It says suggesting that one phase is concluding and a new one is about to start. Let's pause. Now we should understand why emphasis is being placed on the number 9 in that commercial based on what the number 9 represents. Okay, the end of cycles, the end of one phase and the start of a new one. Okay, how was this predictive programming to Donald Trump and his presidencies? Let's rewind. And let's go back to 2020 during the C19 virus, right? What was the mantra for 2020 and everything that was going on? It was the new normal, aka the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new. Y'all gonna learn that, again, I don't just talk to hear myself talking. Okay, I told you, all you got to do is be patient with me and I bring things full circle. That's why emphasis is being placed on the number 9 in this commercial. It represents the end of cycles. That's why the mantra during his first presidency, during that first emergency, during his first presidency was what? The new normal. That represented what? The end of a cycle and the beginning of the new normal. Okay? And again, that's why all of that had to happen during his first presidency, with him being the 45th president, because him being the 45th president represented what? The number 9. Okay?
Where's your dignity?
Now, notice something. What is this supposed to imply? Okay. Notice the sheep that's on the ground that's basically tethered to Donald Trump. He looked at the sheep that's number 9 and said, "Where's your dignity?" Okay. Now, this is an allusion to what we're actually seeing today. Okay. Notice the sheep number 9. He's basically in league with Donald Trump. He's on Donald Trump's side. Okay. And notice all the sheep that's on Donald Trump's side. Those are odd numbers. Okay. So bringing this up to date, all the Donald Trump supporters are viewed by this quote unquote liberal society as oddballs. They're viewed as the odd ones if you are a Donald Trump supporter. Okay, that's why the number 9, that sheep looked at the number 9 and said, "Where's your dignity?" Because that's what most people That's the way most people look at Donald Trump supporters. Where's your dignity? Okay, especially if you a so-called black person. Okay, if you voted for Donald Trump, that's the way you're looked at. Where's your dignity? Why did you not vote Democrat? Okay, you're looked at as an odd person. You're the odd one of the bunch, okay? That's why all the odd numbers are in favor of who? Donald Trump in this particular commercial. Okay, that's why they're only showing odd numbers of sheep in this particular commercial. Again, this this particular commercial, it was spiritual, believe it or not. Okay, and it was predictive programming. Okay, but anyway, let's let it play out here.
Save now on this Trump Home Luxury Suites mattress during the Serta Luxury Suite Savings Event, now through Labor Day.
Right, so the commercial ends showing the sheep number 1. Okay, because this particular sheep represented Donald Trump. This sheep was tethered to Donald Trump throughout the whole commercial. Okay, because really, that is showing that Donald Trump is a chosen one. And 2, it's also representing what? The number 11. This sheep and Donald Trump also represented the number 11 because it represented what? Duality, or the coming together of opposites, twinning. This particular sheep in this commercial was actually against Donald Trump, but represented him at the same time. Okay, that was your number 11. That was also a representation of your number 11 in this particular commercial. Okay, but now that we're on the subject of number 11, okay, we actually got information on the number 9. Let's look at the number 11 real quick. Okay, and let's bring it on home. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so here's some information about the number 11, and it reads, it says in spiritual context, the number 11, particularly when seen repeatedly, like 1111, is often interpreted as a powerful message from the universe, indicating a new beginning, spiritual awakening, or a call to action. Let's pause right here. Notice what it says about the number 11. Now, first, notice it talked about spiritual awakening. That's why in the beginning of the video, I said the number 11 represented what? Mind activation. Okay, that's basically spiritual awakening, right? But here's the kicker. Notice how I talked about the number 11, especially when it's repeated as 1111. Now your spidey senses should be going off, because I just did a video series comprised of 2 videos. Okay, it was about the boxing match that occurred back on March 1st against Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont the Reaper Roach Jr. Right? Lamont Roach Jr. has the tattoo of 1111 on his leg. Did I not point that out in that video? Okay, now it should be making perfect sense as to why this number 11 is significant. Okay, why they chose Lamont Roach to fight Gervonta Davis during Donald Trump's second presidency that represents the number 11. Okay, Lamont the Reaper Roach. Very important. Okay, but let's get deeper into that. Okay, so it goes on to say, it's considered a master number in numerology, representing intuition, enlightenment, and the ability to connect with the spiritual realm. Allow me to repeat that part. And the ability to connect with the spiritual realm. Uh-huh. You know what? Let's just continue. I'm really about to bring it on home. We about to get the checkmate. Let's continue. Watch this. So this is what I want right here at the very bottom. Okay, the last piece that talks about the connection to the spiritual realm, okay? Or the number 11's connection to the spiritual realm. Now watch this. It says it's considered a bridge between the conscious and unconscious. Again, mind activation, right? Then it goes on to say connecting the physical world with the spiritual realm. Why is this important? Why is this so important? This is important because, again, that number 11 being connected, connecting the physical world to the spiritual world, okay? And especially when you see 1111, okay, that tattoo that Lamont Roach had tattooed on his leg, that's what that represents, okay? Now, what else represents that? Lionsgate. Lionsgate also represents that. What is Lionsgate? Again, that goes into what? The number 88, which represents Lionsgate. Remember in that one slide, in part 2 of that video series I did, notice how they framed that particular shot with Lamont Roach, that picture with Lamont Roach wearing the Luka Doncic shirt, showing the jersey number 77, and they showed part of his leg showing the number 11. Remember that? That 77 plus 11 equals 88. Lionsgate. Lionsgate also represents what? The portal from the physical world to the spiritual realm. It's the same thing as the number 11. They both really represent the same thing. Okay? Notice too, that's why the rematch again between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis is taking place on August 16th. That also represents Lionsgate. Okay? August is the 8th month, right? Then you have the 8th day, that's 8-8. That's Lionsgate. But the number sequence that represents Lionsgate also is 888. So if you add 8 more days to August 8th, that lands you to what? August 16th. That's when the rematch is. You see how all that is connecting? Now, if that's not enough, and to show you all of this is one big storyline that Mr. Donald J. Trump is a part of. Okay, let's really get the checkmate now. Remember in that video series, I said that Lamont Roach was playing the role of Saturn. Did I not? Saturn, Kronos, the Grim Reaper, all the same thing, right? He's playing the role of Saturn. Saturn is closely related, not the same, but closely related to the Roman god Janus. They both represent time and the beginning and endings of things, both Saturn and Janus. Now, one may ask, Kaniba, why are you bringing up Janus now? You reaching again. Well, am I? Do I really reach? Let me ask you a question. This is why I'm bringing up Janus. Who on the earth, what prominent figure has always played the role of Janus in this physical world? Let's not leave it to suspense. The answer is the Pope. Okay? Now it should really make sense to you, because the last Pope that just died, he died at what age? He died at 88 years old. That represents what? Lionsgate. Okay. So here again, that's the reason why he had to be removed during Donald Trump's second presidency as the 47th president, because that number 47 represents the number 11. The number 11 is closely tied to what? Lionsgate, 88. Okay? If you remember in the last video series I did, the number sequence 1111 represents Lionsgate, 88. Now you should see how the stories are connecting. I literally just connected Lamont Roach, the Pope, and Donald Trump. It's all a part of one big storyline that they're playing on the left-hand side. Okay, Donald Trump was set up to do this. Now, if that's not enough, then please explain to me this post that's been floating around social media. Explain this. Anybody care to give me an explanation? Okay, and this is from Donald Trump's own Instagram account. This is what they posted on his Instagram account. Him dressed up as the Pope. Now, if me connecting those three to one storyline, if me connecting Lamont Roach, the Pope, and Donald Trump to the same storyline, if that's me reaching, please explain this. Explain it, please. That's why I said the Pope had to die this year during Donald Trump as the 47th president, because the number 47 represents the number 11. Okay, the number 11 is tied to Lionsgate, in which that Pope died at 88 years old. It's all one big storyline that they're playing. Okay? Now, again, and I tied Lamont Roach to this, did I not? Did I not say he's playing the role of Saturn? Well, let's end it with this, okay? Donald Trump. This is diabolical. Donald Trump, one of his mantras for this particular presidency is what? To make America great again. Is it not? Now, as a Hebrew Israelite, we have to ask ourselves, when was this country ever great to begin with? Okay, but he's alluding to something. Okay. Now you have some people, particularly black people, that say he wants to bring things back to the days of slavery, the way it was back then. Well, maybe, but not exactly. Okay. It's actually much deeper than that. Okay, when he says make America great again. Okay. What this is an allusion to, make America great again. He's basically wanting to bring things back to the ways of the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, because this place is the Roman Empire resurrected. This is spiritual Rome. Okay, now one may ask, well, Kanaiba, how do you prove that? Okay, and how does this tie to Lamont Roach? And if you need further proof, okay, one of the statements that Donald Trump made was what? He wants to bring America to what's known as a golden age. Okay, that phrase, the golden age, that goes back to paganism, believe it or not. Let's prove that. Let's take a look at this. So here's some information about the golden age, and it reads, it says, in classical Greek mythology, the golden age was presided over by the leading titan Kronos. Allow me to repeat that part. In classical Greek mythology, The Golden Age was presided over by the leading Titus Chronos. Okay. Now we bringing it on home. This is why Donald Trump is saying he wants to bring America to a golden age. This just simply goes back to the Greco-Roman Empire. And notice in Greek mythology, who presided over the golden age? It was Kronos. Did I or did I not say that Lamont Roach is playing the role of Kronos and Saturn? Did I not say that? Uh-huh. But let's continue. It says, in Latin authors, it was associated with the god Saturn. Checkmate. I told you all of this is just one big storyline. Okay, now I can link this or precept it with my last video series. This is why Gervonta Davis had to bow the knee to Saturn, aka Baal. Okay, because again, Donald Trump wants to bring America to a golden age. And this is in veneration of Saturn. They don't worship the God of the Bible. They worship the pagan gods of old. This golden age, this is in veneration of Saturn. Okay, the quote unquote goat god, Pan, the Capricorn. Okay, that's why one of the symbols of America is what? Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is simply Samael. That's Pan, Saturn. Okay, that's why Uncle Sam is famous for having what? The goatee, because he's the goat. Okay? But it goes on to say what? In some versions of the myth, Estrella also ruled. She lived with men until the end of the Silver Age, but in the Bronze Age, when men became violent and greedy, she fled to the stars, where she appears as the constellation Virgo, holding the scales of justice, or Libra. Okay? Checkmate. But anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of this video. And again, the title of the video is Donald Trump, Mr. 9/11, Predictive Programming. Okay, so I laid out the evidence starting with that commercial that he did many years ago, okay, which was predictive programming, to him being the 45th and the 47th president of these United States of America, making him Mr. 9/11. Okay, and I showed you how the storyline is going for this year. Okay, how Mr. Lamont Roach Jr. and Gervonta Davis, along with the Pope, is playing into this particular narrative, this storyline with Mr. Donald J. Trump. Okay, so expect a lot of things to happen spiritually on the left-hand side this year. Okay, especially after that Lionsgate, around August 8th, August 16th, a lot of stuff may pop off, okay? And of course, this is just my critique. I could be wrong, but expect a lot of stuff to be happening on the left-hand side. Okay, but, don't be dismayed at that, because you have to understand, if a lot of stuff is happening on the left-hand side, much, much greater things are happening on the right-hand side, okay? The left-hand side can never overcome the right-hand side. All it can do is try to mimic it. Okay, so take comfort in that. All right? So with that, and as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father. And I do so by Hashem, which means in the name of, Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. And I want to thank all you brothers and sisters for tuning in. I hope this video was informative and edifying. And until next time, Shalom, family.